I think we explore Hawaii and have that kind of innocent mindset as to like, oh, wow, this place is like really cool. I want to take a cool photo and I'm going to post it for my friends to see. And I think that's kind of how it all starts. But everyone who is born and raised here, everyone who isn't aware of the like environmental issues coming out of school, I think we just do it in an innocent manner.
That's a clip from today's interview with Matty, Leong, and Spencer Lee from the island of Oahu. If you follow us on Instagram at Hawaii's.best, you've seen us share quite a few of their images. Though they are both professional photographers from the island of Oahu, they offer their insight on how to enjoy the best of Hawaii responsibly. In our conversation, you'll learn some of the best tips to having and enjoying Hawaii's pristine environment and how you can help, even on your vacation, in keeping it beautiful for generations to come. So stay tuned for this one. They even offer some of their best iPhone photography tips in capturing some of your memories on the islands. So here we go.
Aloha, welcome to Hawaii's Best Travel Podcast, where we help you prepare for your next trip to Hawaii. Discover the experiences, businesses, and stories that make Hawaii the Aloha State. And now, your host, Brian Murphy.
Aloha and welcome to episode 34 of Hawaii's Best, where we help prepare you for your next trip to Hawaii. I'm your host, Brian Murphy, the owner of Hawaii's Best. And on our podcast, we help offer travel tips and guides to get the most out of your stay on the islands. And today we're going to be talking more about that with Spencer and Matty from Oahu. Now, on the island of Oahu, there's so many things to experience. And one of the best things to experience is food. And as a self-proclaimed foodie, I love a good meal, but I also love a place that's filled with history. I love how dishes became to be and how small business owners turn their passion into a business. And at Hawaii's Best, we compiled our top 10 best places to eat on the island of Oahu. And we made that guide available to you for free, obviously. So go to hawaiisbesttravel.com/food guide to download your guide today for our top 10 places to eat on the island of Oahu. Go to hawaiisbesttravel.com/food guide. As you'll discover in our conversation today with Matty and Spencer, you'll hear their love for Hawaii and you'll hear their love for being out in nature. And I think that's one of the most important things when you're going to any of the islands is, if you're staying at a resort or if you're lounging by the pool, that's all good. But it's important to experience the best of Hawaii. And the best of Hawaii is really just getting out there and exploring. Matty and Spencer share their best tips in how to do that responsibly, but also how to make incredible memories while doing it. Over the last year or so, these guys have become friends of mine, and I hope that as you listen to our conversation, you'll be able to hear their heart and love for the islands. As we talk a little bit, joke a little bit, what we want to get across in this is that anytime you travel anywhere, we're talking about Hawaii, obviously, but anytime you travel to any place or even around your community, it's important to be mindful of the impact that we're making. We just want to be mindful of the impact we're making to the environment around us, to the people around us. So as we dive deeper into this conversation today, I hope you find value in it. And I hope you're dreaming of Hawaii right now. I don't have any updates about when Hawaii will reopen. Right now, it's set for August 1st. But as of this date, I am recording this on July 10th. There's talks about possibly pushing that date back. So just stay tuned about all that. But let's push that aside right now. And we know that one day we'll get to travel to Hawaii again. And I can't wait to share this conversation with you. So let's go ahead and let's talk story with Matty and Spencer from Oahu. Well, Spencer and Matty, thank you so much for coming on Hawaii's Best today. How are you guys doing? And maybe Spencer, let's start with you.
Oh, hey, Brian. Thanks for having me back on. I was one of the beginning guests that you had on this podcast, and
I remember
it's
that.
good to be back. Yeah. So I think last time I was still in nursing school. I just graduated, just got my nursing license, and I'm just looking for jobs right now. So just chilling, shooting, taking it easy for a little bit. Still trying to hit up Matty to go shoot, but he's busy. So
well, awesome, man. Hey, congratulations. I remember when we were talking You were like in the middle of this cramming. I think we had like 20 or 30 minutes in that conversation. You're like, I got this, I just got this small amount of time.
Yeah.
How is, obviously finishing that now, but how has your time been getting out there, shooting? How has that been lately?
It's been pretty relaxed. The thing is about summertime is that sunrise is so early now. So it's like I'm waking up at 4:30 every morning to shoot. And then sunset is so late. Yeah, a lot of naps during the daytime, a lot of coffee. But yeah, in general, it's a lot less stressful. I can just do whatever. If I feel like going on a hike, or feel like I'm to sleep in, or even stay up late to shoot Milky Way, it's nice. Nice not to have projects and things to take care of.
That's cool. Matty, what about you, man? I know you and I, we've connected a little bit these last few months, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what's life currently like for you.
Hey, Brian. First off, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm really stoked to be here. What's life been going on? It's I was on lockdown for the past month and a half, I'd say, throughout April and May, just because I'm still living with my parents, and I wanted to respect like their health with everything going on. But recently, we just got the okay to kind of go outdoors. So I've been taking advantage of that. My girlfriend and I have been going outside every single day. Either we're shooting for a brand, or we're shooting surf for fun, or we're just making connections. Kind of just taking it easy during this time, taking things day by day, just because I feel like there's just a lot of crazy things happening when we go on social media. I'm trying to stay off of it a lot, but also trying to stay proactive at the same time, just because photography is my full-time job. So still trying to find that healthy balance. But yeah, everything's going well. I'm just taking photos whenever I can. I'm doing a few jobs here and there for some clients, and yeah, just taking it easy and day by day. That's all I can ask for.
Absolutely. Now, did you grow up on Oahu?
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Kaneohe. And I guess a little bit more background. I went to college at University of Hawaii. I graduated in business with 2 degrees. It's not a thing, but it's cool. I think it's cool looking back on it. And I'm 25 years old. Yeah.
So obviously with the landscape, especially over on the east side, picking up a camera seems pretty natural, but how'd you start? What was your photography journey? I
started looking at like pictures in my office when I was working at an 8 to 5 job. There's nothing wrong with 8 to 5 jobs. But yeah, I was just looking at pictures on Instagram once it started getting popular, once people started posting a lot of like landscape stuff. I was overhearing a lot of people like that I graduated with just realizing like, oh man, I did not expect like work outside of college to be like this in business. It's because like after you graduate business, you kind of have to start from the bottom and kind of just work in an office in your little cubicle,
sure.
Which is not a bad thing. But for someone who's like adventurous and free spirited, it can kind of be, it can kind of feel like restricting. But yeah, for me, like I thought that was kind of what I wanted to do. And then I don't know, I just wanted to have more fun in life. And I found I like loved surf, and I loved shooting my friends surfing. So that's kind of how I started on the like getting on Instagram. If you scroll down my profile, you'll definitely see some old surf photos. And then it kind of just evolved from there. Like I constantly every day was wishing I was outside, like taking photos, creating cool content. And then pretty soon I left my job and took a leap of faith and worked at this place called Hawaii Camera. That's kind of where I met Spencer, kind of where I got familiar and comfortable with camera equipment and gear, because all day we would just kind of help out customers and play with equipment. So it was really fun. And then I left Hawaii Camera. I went back to another job, and then I kind of just saved up my money to finally go full time. And then in 2019, August, I went full-time photography.
That's great, man. That's a huge leap right there. Now, both of you guys, and we'll definitely link your guys' Instagram accounts within the show notes, but both of you guys have gained quite a bit of popularity with a lot of your photos. What's it like being shouted out from huge Instagram accounts, like million plus? Like, what is that? Does that mean anything? Does it encourage you? Does it?
Spencer.
What is that?
Spencer knows how it feels like to be shouted out by a million plus accounts.
So I have a lot to say about feature pages and benefits and the drawbacks of being featured and growing in popularity. So initially, when you're first starting to gain your following, when you're trying to really define yourself as an artist and grow a presence on social media, feature pages like yourself, Brian, they're super helpful to like get eyes on your work, especially if you're somebody like Matty who works full-time in photography and really relies on the more eyeballs on your work, driving sales and building clients and building relationships. I definitely think that that's super important. And feature pages can be so helpful in that sense. But the drawback, at least for me and the way that I see it, is that feature pages are only taking one particular or a few specific types of images and showcasing it so the world sees, or a bigger audience sees your work just as those one or two shots. And when people start to follow you, they expect those one or two similar shots. So I would say personally, like for me, the shots that blow up the most for me are like those really clear water shots or super saturated pictures of a green mountain in the background with Matty modeling in the foreground. But essentially, if you're just on Instagram and you're just using photography to build a social media following, get likes, get all of those reshares and grow in popularity, then yeah, it kind of puts you into this creative box and you only create content that fits your quote unquote standard for what your page quote unquote should be according to social media. And you don't actually explore what ticks you creatively or what you find to be interesting in a creative sense. So recently I've just been trying to kind of pull myself away from, using photography as a way to grow on social media and to try and explore different types of landscape photography and other forms of photography that I find interesting or that interests me, and focusing less on what types of images are going to be popular or get all the likes and get shared on social media.
So I'm sure it's kind of like this weird catch-22. Like on one hand, it's great to have, these shots that you've put so much time and effort and even, back end post-production work in, and then posting it. And then, I'm sure on one hand, it's really gratifying getting those likes, getting those comments, and that's art, right?
Right.
And then on the other hand, there's this kind of mind game that happens with, well, I have to produce this in order to get X. And so it's this kind of mind shift thing that I'm sure can be limiting, Matty, what about you? As far as the creative process and in what you post, can you resonate with what Spencer's saying?
Yeah, I think for me, when I was starting out, everyone wants to grow on Instagram, right? Everyone wants to get more followers, just because I feel like more followers kind of brings either more opportunity or or something else. Yeah, it's definitely hard because I used to post for these featured pages to hopefully notice me and repost me. Like I would refrain from posting something that I like to posting something with a palm tree or something with a rainbow, or I would go out of my way to up the colors on my photo just because this page does the colors on their photos. This is what they like. They don't like too much clarity or too much sharpness. So yeah, I think you can kind of get lost in it. I think when starting out, it's good because it kind of pushes you to work for these types of photos and pushes your limits with editing. But when you get to a certain point of like, okay, I want to do this full time now. Like I want to be shooting for these specific brands, or like I want to be shooting this specific industry or lifestyle. I noticed that you have to be posting things like tailored towards that specific industry and lifestyle if you want to get jobs with those types of companies. Because like if I want to shoot a lot more like surfing and underwater stuff, I have to post more surfing and underwater versus a lot more of like drone and landscape, because then those companies won't be able to see what I can do underwater or what I can do like for surfing or stuff like that. So that's kind of like my 2 cents on it. It's good when you're starting out. I think it helps you like understand the industry of like editing and color and the color wheel and proper themes and ideas of shots that are like cool to get. But once you kind of like integrate yourself more into the industry or more into photography and video, definitely express yourself because you can get lost in the likes and the engagement. It is cool, but then you're kind of, it only lasts for a day or until your next post. And then, you know, what's going to be paying for, you know, your camera equipment or stuff like that. So yeah, it's just finding a nice, healthy balance. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that photography, just like any other art form, is you have to start and you have to learn by emulating the style and by emulating the great work of others. So like, I know Matty and I really looked to a lot of big creatives here in Hawaii and tried to really emulate their style because we saw all of their photos being shared on feature pages and all that. And that's good to start off because you really learn to develop the eye for it. You learn how to post process similar to how all the popular pages are doing. But once you reach a certain point, you eventually have to start to create your own style and your own work. And similarly to like, if you're trying to learn how to play the guitar, you start off by playing all of the popular music. And then once you master the craft of guitar playing, then you can go and create your own music.
I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, for me, that resonates. I mean, I've played guitar my entire life and I started playing, you know, Nirvana during like the grunge era stuff. And then like, yeah, you span off and like, okay, who am I as an artist and what are these gifts and how do I uniquely get those out to the world? But
right.
Even beyond that, it's just more satisfying of being true to yourself, of being true to who have you been created to be and what's your expression. Also, what's behind these posts too, and maybe this leads into kind of our conversation more today about conservation, is it's one thing to post a photo and edit it in the way, knowing you're going to get likes. And that particular photo just goes crazy, right? And then people want to emulate that. And that in itself can have some negative connotations in that it draws more people to a location that is meant to have very little traffic. And I get a kick sometimes, you know, I'll read comments and I'll get DMs, and I'm sure you guys get them way more than I do about where exactly was this location and what beach is this, what spot is that, what hike is that. But it's so much more than that. And maybe you guys can speak into that a little bit. I get a kick sometimes, you know, I'll do it once in a while. You'll tag a location like Burger King,
Yeah.
you know, in Waikiki. I just think McDonald's or whatever, Starbucks. And I just think that's just so funny. But maybe you guys can speak into that a little bit, just about the draw to specific sacred spots that aren't meant to have a lot of foot traffic.
It's definitely hard. I think right when social media started, right when all of us kids, you know, picked up a camera, started learning how to drive, I think we explore Hawaii and have that kind of innocent mindset as to like, oh, wow, this place is like really cool. I want to take a cool photo and I'm going to post it for my friends to see. And I think that's kind of how it all starts. But everyone who is born and raised here, everyone who isn't aware of the like environmental issues coming out of school, I think we just do it in an innocent manner. And then only now are we like being pointed out or being called out like, hey, like this place kind of has more meaning to it, you know, be more aware, be more mindful. Like I find myself learning from other people all the time because I only know what I know from school, and I went to school for business. I did not go to school for, you know, Hawaiian history or environmentalism, but it doesn't mean that I can't do my research. So for me, that's kind of how it started, you know, just going to a cool place, posting it, and then realizing like, oh, wow, there's like 10, 20, 30 people asking where this place is. Let me give it to a few friends, and then a few friends go there and post it. And then now, you know, now it's a very popular spot. And it's like, dang, was that because of me? Or, you know, word just gets around. You just got to be aware and mindful. And, you know, if these spots are like photographers' favorite places to go because they feel some sense of peace or very emotional attachment to it, then write it in your caption to kind of leave it like better than you found it, or write something that people can like look at and be like, okay, it's my job if I come here to be aware of these things, that way it's not like your fault that were the first one to blow up this place, I guess, because they got a lot of likes on Instagram. Like you did your due diligence. Now it's like the people who are coming to visit to do their due diligence too and take care of the place and make sure that they're aware of like where they're stepping, what they're leaving behind, the impacts that it can have.
Yeah, that's well said. Spencer, what about you?
Yeah, so I grew up with the conservation mind in place as a child. So I always, going out and making sure that I pack out whatever I pack in was kind of like common sense. But, I'm not the only person that visits, very sensitive locations. And a lot of people who are going to these sensitive locations are not being as concerned about whether or not they pick up their own trash, whether or not they respect the people who are living in that neighborhood by not, like, for example, if you're in a neighborhood by a popular hiking trail, by not wiping off the mud in their yards or using their hoses to, wash off afterwards. Social media has a very powerful way of impacting the environment. And it's only something that people, I think, are starting to realize, because when one shot goes viral, then every photographer on the island, for example, would want to go and chase the exact same shot. And regardless of whether or not the photographer or the creative shares that location, people are going to do their best and try their hardest to find it. And once that location, quote unquote, goes viral, then you have everybody flocking to that location. And then it only takes one or two groups of people to ruin that location by leaving a bunch of trash, destroying something that was not meant to, hold particular weight, like if they're standing on a rock or a tree branch, stuff like that. And I think that if we're going to be sharing these spots and sharing our artwork, essentially, we should be at least taking a little bit of the responsibility of trying to educate people who do see that image on how to go to certain locations in a responsible way, having the respect to the photographer, to the creative, if they are not comfortable with sharing a particular location due to the fact that it's just very sensitive to overcrowding or very sensitive to trash. Like, for example, certain beaches are not maintained by the state. So if somebody leaves their trash and doesn't pick it back up, then nobody will until somebody else picks it up for them. So Waikiki is maintained very well. Ala Moana is maintained very well, but a lot of beaches on the islands are not Waikiki or Ala Moana. Those are the types of beaches that people want to go to get away from crowds. Native people and the people who are inspiring others to get out, to place that or remind people of conservation and remind people to do the right thing while they're out there. And so that not only are, we leave this place beautiful for our future generations, but we leave it safe for everybody else and safe for like the wildlife. We don't just use nature as just for our own personal gain.
So at the time of this recording, we're about 30 days away from August 1st. That means starting August 1st, Trans-Pacific travel will be opened up, granted that someone can show proof of a negative COVID-19 test and not having a quarantine for 14 days. So that means that about 30 days from now, there's going to be people hopping on a plane and heading to the islands. So we have this kind of window just to be able to have this conversation and talk about someone who's coming to the islands. Now, what are your guys' just in light of all that and in light of people kind of starting to come back slowly to vacation, what are your guys' thoughts on Hawaii opening up August 1st?
I think it's a good thing for our state, I guess, economically. I feel like a lot of small businesses and local businesses are still kind of closed, or, they're still looking for more customers just because not a lot of people are out spending money. Unfortunately, Hawaii thrives. Our economy thrives off of tourism, right? It's just what it is. So I think in a sense it's okay. I have to trust, which is very hard, but I have to trust that our state is going to do the right thing. If people are testing negative, then I don't necessarily see, from my point of view right now, I don't see a problem. Yeah, I don't see a problem. I think it'll definitely help. I just hope that people are still very aware of like that we have families here and that we have communities here, and we all like there's local people that call this place
Mm,
home, you know. So when you're coming here, it's like we're stoked that you're here. We're stoked that you want to experience Hawaii and that you want to kind of like escape or have a vacation and just have fun. But also just remember that there are people that live here too, you know. But we have communities here. We have small businesses and families and kids that grow up here. Just be mindful and aware of that when you're kind of going around and taking photos and going to eat at these places, you know. It'll help small businesses kind of come back up and running, and I think it's going to be what it is.
right. Spencer, you had any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for the economics, it's about time, right? Like
Right.
our economy has been down, and if we continue to, remain shut down, we're going to have loss of jobs, permanent loss of homes for people because it's very expensive to live here in Hawaii. So I think opening up is a great thing. Now, coming from a health standpoint, again, travelers should be mindful of the fact that, yes, we are paradise, but we still have vulnerable people here. We still have people who are immunosuppressed. We still have the elderly population. None of the quote unquote social distancing practices should go out the window just because you're on vacation here. You should still be wearing your mask. You should still be washing your hands. Very often carry a bottle of hand sanitizer with you. I guess kind of like a little bit of a concern for me is that the fact that we don't have enough tests to test people upon arrival. And that's why we are allowing people to get their own test within 72 hours of travel. And then as long as they show proof of that when they arrive to the airport, then they will still be essentially just void the 14-day quarantine. But there's still a 3-day window, right? When they're on the mainland where we're seeing big surges of COVID-19 community spread, outbreaks of this virus. So there's still a time window that you could potentially catch COVID and still hop on a plane, still possibly infect people on that plane, and then come to Hawaii to possibly start another outbreak. And we are still seeing, as our own local economy is opening up, we're still seeing slight influx of cases. Granted, those case amounts are not as drastic as the increases that we've seen on the mainland, but there's still small bumps and small clusters within our community, and we don't need to add to that. So I would say that if you are planning on coming starting August 1st to avoid the 14 days, get your test, obviously, to avoid having to pay for 2 weeks in a hotel room, essentially. Within the time you take your test and it's shown that you're negative, be smart about what you do. Don't go out into crowded areas. Try to reduce the risk of you potentially contracting the virus on your own, as well as continue to practice social distancing while you're up there and as well as when you're here in Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to interject too. Like, there's a lot of people here that may have it too. Like, although the visitors are coming here and they're testing negative, there's some of us that could be positive here, walking the streets. So it's important to, like what Spencer said, definitely still wear your mask, just be mindful, just be aware and respectful of the rules that are in place at restaurants or bars or hotels that are, reopening up. Like, I'm sure a lot of businesses are kind of scrambling because in 30 days, they kind of have to be up and running again. I have a few friends in the hotel industry and they probably aren't working until maybe this month now because everyone's like, all right, like the state approved people to come 30 days. Let's go. We got to get like the room's good. Like everything, we have to rehire everybody now.
Right. Like a little bit more of a heads up would have been nice.
yeah, at least, yeah. So yeah, just, if you are coming on August 1st, just be mindful and respectful. Like people are still doing their best. We are only informed as much as we do our research or as much as we watch the news. So Hawaii is going to be a little bit different when you come. Just kind of like what Spencer said, just be mindful and aware. And that's kind of all we hope to ask for from people.
The same can be said for the conservation stuff too. If you're going to go out be mindful of the potential impact of your actions, be mindful of your rubbish, be mindful of your actions, be mindful of your noise in neighborhoods and all that. Because yeah, we're here to have fun. Like, we're both from Hawaii and we both like love to go out and have fun and kind of just, I hate to say do whatever, but do whatever in a way that doesn't hurt or harm the experience for other people, as well as doesn't hurt or harm the experience for the environment.
Yeah. Hawaii's best. We throw out this term ecotourism aligns with conservation. If we had to sum it up just from your guys's kind of dictionary, how would you define conservation?
I guess for me as a photographer and, growing up already with conservation in mind, there's several principles that I follow. One is leave no trace. And it's not just something that's unique to Hawaii. It's unique to the mainland. It's unique to everywhere around the world that has, very pristine natural areas. So if you just Google leave no trace, there's 7 principles. I'm going to run through them real quick. The first one is plan ahead and prepare. Second one is travel and camp on durable surfaces. Third is dispose of waste properly. Fourth is leave what you find. 5 is minimize campfire impact. 6 is respect wildlife. And 7 is be considerate of other visitors. And if you just follow those 7 principles, just regardless of what you're doing, whether you're a photographer, fisherman, or you just want to, just go out into the outdoors and have a good time and relax, then, following those principles will generally keep you on the straight path. And those principles kind of just go with the whole mindfulness thing, to be mindful of your actions and how your actions are impacting the environment and the rest of the world around you.
I think what's important about that, I mean, we're all living in this kind of COVID, post maybe COVID right now, who knows? But it's the same really mentality, is thinking of other people. So obviously, even wearing a mask, and also with, social distancing, it's just kind of doing your part. And this is kind of an extension of what it means to do that when you're going out in nature as well. So I love that. Matty, what about you, man?
I just recently found out about Leave No Trace, and I think that they do a great job at kind of helping people who just don't know what to do. And it's okay not to know what to do, because, Hawaii is very different. And if I can just speak from like an emotional side, when you're coming and visiting, like when you look at those rules that kind of Spencer just said to follow, are kind of like guidelines to follow from anyone's blog or vlog or just kind of experience of Hawaii, just kind of have some empathy. There's history here. There's history on the ground. There's history on every mountain and at every waterfall. Be very lucky that the fact that like native Hawaiian people or like local people, or some of us, are okay with people like calling this place home or coming to visit, and just kind of like also like making businesses and doing things here too. Hawaii is definitely a beautiful place. It's nothing like New York. It's nothing like California. It's so much, it's a lot different. And it's also a very tight-knit community. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're coming here, when you're exploring. Just have some empathy. Try to really understand like why people like, or like organizations like Leave No Trace or Sustainable Coastlines, or just people in general, or like environmentalists, kind of express leaving this place better than we found it, and just kind of doing our part, if we see something. So yeah, that's kind of what Spencer and I want to try and work on. Right now, we're kind of just starting with social media, but hoping to just kind of make a user-friendly kind of guide that's not very forceful for people to kind of just look at and follow. That way, it's like, like I said earlier, it's like we are doing our part to the best that we can, and then now it's kind of up to you to do your part. In my opinion, like when people have come here, like other photographers and other artists, they really just feel Hawaii's love in the community, and they feel like super happy, and they totally understand, like, okay, I get it now, like I finally get it. Like this place is different, and they leave different, and some people fall in love here. So just a side note, but that's, it's cool. Yeah. There's these guidelines for a reason, and until you come here and experience like really the true beauty, you'll understand. It's not so that we can monitor people. It's just so we can constantly just have somewhere beautiful to kind of escape to or go to, you know, in our lives.
I think that's well said, man. I mean, because once you get it, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, my very first time on Oahu was about maybe 15 years ago. And my only kind of window into Hawaii was Waikiki, Diamond Head, that, you know, that iconic
Yep.
shot. And throughout these years, you know, and even talking to guys like you and a lot of other friends on the islands, once you get it, once you see the beauty, once you see the love that locals and Hawaiians have for each other, their land, their culture, like you want to do your part in being a part of protecting that. I know that's speaking for myself and my family. Like we want to do whatever we can to protect and to honor such an amazing place. And I think that's why I definitely wanted to have you guys on today as we lead up to this reopening. Talking about conservation and talking about you guys have done every, you know, hike around the island and kind of captured every angle of Oahu. And you kind of ventured out in some of the other islands as well. What are some things that you've seen that has kind of broken your heart? Like what are some examples of when we talk about leaving no trace? What are some of the examples on the other end that you've seen that like, are there any examples that just kind of stick out as you're thinking about your time in shooting?
I think we experience it a lot when we're out in the ocean and on the beaches. For me personally, I've definitely seen like, I guess like plastic stuck in a turtle in the ocean. And I felt like I could not do anything about it because I can't touch turtle, right? And also it's swimming
Right.
faster than me and it probably doesn't even know that it's stuck to this thing. I've also seen, you know, dolphins when, you know, just diving and swimming, kind of playing with plastic. I mean, like, what if they swallow it? You know, that's kind of like something out of our control. And, you know, one of my friends, they really tried their best to kind of get it off the dolphin. But at the same time, we don't want to like touch marine life, you know, wild marine animals and marine life. So it kind of breaks my heart because it's like, wow, I really have to swim away and I really don't know who to call and I really can't do anything about it. And all I can hope for is that it somehow falls off their fin or somehow they just leave it alone. But still, even if it does, it's still in the ocean for another animal or another fish to kind of run into maybe, you know, it's so close to shore. So yeah, those are just kind of things. And, you know, there's just like a couple beaches, like Spencer said, some beaches aren't maintained by the state. Oh man, there's like some beaches that just like trash everywhere. You know, me and my girlfriend have tried our best one day to like pick up a bunch of trash. And then I look down the beach and I just still see so much plastic and it's getting dark. And I'm like, oh man, I feel so weird leaving, you know, like, I guess I could stay, but at the same time, it's like, you know, we have obligations in life that we have to do. And, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to walk down a stretch of like a 2 mile or 3 mile stretch of beach. That's just me alone. There's definitely some great organizations, but personal experiences, just things that I see, it's hard to walk away, or it kind of breaks my heart because it's like, man, I'm from here. I'm like always speaking about, you know, these types of things, but here I am kind of walking away from the problem or, you know, the issue because I feel like it's just too big for me to do alone.
Yeah. Spencer?
Going off that, I would definitely agree with Matt. Like all of the beaches that I go to, I'm always carrying a plastic bag because I know that there's trash going to be there. And I know that I'm going to leave with either a half bag full of trash or a full bag and possibly carrying bigger items alongside all of my camera gear. And it's sad that it gets to the point where I know that the next time that I'll be back, there will be trash and there will be possibly more, or this, I expect it at this point. So it's sad that it gets to that point, but Matt left off with the notion that, you know, this problem is too big for a lot of us as individuals to do by ourselves. And that's why we're both trying to work on inspiring at least the local creative community here, because we're so tight knit, everybody knows each other. And if we all are preaching efforts of conservation and being mindful and adventuring responsibly, then hopefully we can have a bigger collective voice than any of our voices could carry on our own. And hopefully that voice is translated not just within our own creative community, but, possibly to the local public of Hawaii. And then once the local public of Hawaii starts sharing all of these messages of conservation, then it can go into the tourism industry. And then eventually, hopefully, people will travel to Hawaii with all of these things in mind, because it's a part and it's ingrained within their culture to, be environmentally conscious when they're traveling to Hawaii, or when they're going out into nature anywhere, not just here.
And I think you're starting to see some of that, but even more marketing behind that is going to be important. So leaving no trace means you probably aren't going to, take rocks or take a turtle with you. You're just going to leave footprints and make memories. And since we have you guys, some amazing professional photographers, if someone is, doing a hike and they want to capture that memory, what are some photography tips? Maybe even like talking about a smartphone, or if someone has like a simple camera, what are some tips, maybe some photography 101 tips that you would give someone to help them be able to capture these memories even better?
I think I honestly try too hard. I think Spencer, like if you look at Spencer's account, it's very more like, I feel like it's more natural in my opinion. Like, I feel like I used to try so hard to get like a nice frame and composition. I think for me, it comes from feeling. I think like the best photos are the ones that are like close to your heart, that you hold close to your heart. Like the moments, like you're watching like a sunrise at Chinaman's Hat, and like you basically see something so beautiful. Just bring out your phone, get a low angle, and kind of just shoot it. I think that's like the best iPhone tip that I can give.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's no real way to take a photo. I think Instagram does a really bad job at like having everyone compare each other's work to each other, where it's like, oh man, I have to get it this specific way. But honestly, over time, it's just, man, if you like this photo, that's the best photo. If you like the way it looks for you and it makes you happy, then that's all that really matters. You want to leave Hawaii like remembering the good things. You don't want to leave and be like, man, I could have captured that sunrise better. Like, I wish I did it like this. Like,
right.
Yeah, there's some like hikes that I do or sunrises that I do. I really just don't put up my camera at all. I'm just so captured by nature. And I really mean that, like, not to be like kind of dramatic, but it's real. Like sometimes we just have to realize where we live in such a beautiful place. And then at that point, I'm like the model of the shoot because I don't want to take photos, but all my other friends want to take photos.
I'm always the one telling Matt, go stand over there while you just enjoy it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of just my take. Like, don't worry so much about the shot if you can't figure it out or can't get it within 10 minutes. At that point, like, find a cool angle, take a photo with your iPhone, kind of just enjoy the moment. And if you're like a professional photographer coming to visit, just bring a bag with you and leave nothing in your car because there's a lot of break-ins. But yeah, just for me, like me personally, I just bring one backpack, everything that's in like that I want to like use to take these photos or these videos, and then like a banana, because at least I can dispose of the banana,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if you see something and it's more about something that sparks joy, capturing that memory. You touched on something, it's kind of ironic. Like you take this hike with the intent to, I got to get the shot. I'm like, oh, it's 5 minutes late. But it's so much more than that. It's about being present, and it's about, like you mentioned, like sometimes you just leave in the camera, and just say, I'm just going to go out and I just need to reconnect. I just need to refocus. And Hawaii is such an important and special place to be able to do that. I think that's brilliant, Matty.
Yeah.
Spencer, what about you, man?
I can't really follow that up, but just to kind of second what Matt said, on social media, and like even with us photographers, we sometimes do get lost with just doing whatever it is that we're doing for the Instagram picture, for the gram, and just going strictly for the photos and just solely putting all of our time, effort, and focus into getting that one shot. But I think that a practice that, it doesn't just relate to the photography field, it can relate to anything, but you have to get into touch with your emotions first. What is it about this that is making you tick? What is it about what's in front of you that draws your attention to it, makes you feel a certain emotion, and then frame your image based upon that emotion first before you put your time and your effort focused on your composition, focused on, your subject and all this technical stuff that comes with photography and getting the shot. And then once you're kind of like in tune with your emotions and you're in tune with like nature, and you are in that flow state of engaging with nature and that interplay between your emotions and nature, you can take a shot, and that shot will have more meaning to you personally. If you're just running out and like with a headless chicken, which, me and Matty are guilty of, just holding down the shutter button on our cameras and just pointing it in every single direction, you might get a good shot. You might capture something that's really powerful, but you won't feel anything when you look at that image. You'll just be like, oh yeah, that was a nice sunrise or a nice view that we were looking at. So definitely get into touch with your emotions first. And then when you do take that image, then whether it's good technically or not, you'll have more emotional attachment to it and you'll be happier with the results.
Yeah, I just want to interject and say, like, for people listening, like, we're not perfect. We have made our mistakes. That's kind of how I know. It's because I've made like mistakes, or maybe I just wasn't fully aware, mindful of where I was. And I was just so focused on just like getting like that shot for those feature pages and for these likes and for more followers. And, over time, photography has definitely helped me shift and change my perspective on how I see like my home in Hawaii. It's different when you're like growing up here. It's like, oh, this place is home. Like we don't know anywhere else until we go there. So we kind of just have that innocent mindset. And then when we realize like, oh, our home is actually a travel destination spot for everybody pretty much around the world, we kind of have to understand like what we're doing. So yeah, I just want to say like, we're not perfect, we're not trying to tell people like what to do because, we're from here and we don't want you to be doing these things too. We have learned over the past few years, definitely as photographers, more and more about home and how to take care of our place and how to do it the right way.
Yeah. And when you're doing the hike and when you got your phone and you got your camera or whatever, don't forget about the kids too.
Don't let your kids fall off a cliff or anything.
Seriously though.
Oh yes.
Safety is always the priority.
Safety's first.
Safety is first for sure.
But I think that for photographers and for just regular people, whenever you're trying to take a photo, just fill the frame, fill your screen with whatever it is that you like. And whatever is calling to you, whatever's speaking to you, whatever's tugging at your emotions, to get back to the emotional side of it, just put that in your frame. And that's going to be a way better photo than if you try and, again, emulate somebody else's photo. Fill whatever it is that is tugging to you. Fill your frame with whatever it is that makes you happy. And then you'll end up with a great photo.
Love it. One of the questions I love to, ask anyone who comes on the show is if someone is traveling to Hawaii for the first time, or they've been coming year after year and maybe creating the same vacation year after year, what is something that you would want somebody to know to come into the islands? Maybe something, to do, to not to do, or go eat here, go hike there. What would you say to that?
What not to do is to not just stay in Waikiki. I think if you're coming here for the first time, definitely adventure out to all parts of the island. Go to Kuloa Ranch, go to the Polynesian Cultural Center, go to some cheesy luau's, because at least you'll get to experience, some form of culture of Hawaii. That's more than just kind of what you see in Waikiki. Learn how to surf, go to like volunteer at a lily patch or work.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Maybe find a beach cleanup. I mean, because
I love that. Yeah.
This is what Hawaii is, like this is kind of like our community, our culture. Yeah. At least just experience one of those things. And I think if you can do that, then that's like the best thing that you can do. Try out poke. It's pronounced poke. It's not poke. Yeah, just try something different, than you did last time. Or if it's your first time here, try everything. It's so cool to try and experience a sunrise, a sunset, like new food, like new experience, a new hike. And yeah, if you want to get specific on like places for food and hikes, you can just, I guess, message us separately or talk to Brian because Brian has a lot of information on that stuff.
I would just second everything Matty said. Just try different things, like if you're traveling here, you're only here for X amount of time. And sometimes you can get so caught up with having everything that you want to do jam-packed into like 1 or 2 weeks. But, the culture about living here in Hawaii is, really relaxed. So don't overdo it. Don't try to kill yourself. And, this is meant to be a place of rest and relaxation and healing. So don't be, constantly grinding and trying to burn yourself out just because you only have X amount of time. If you try to do that, you're kind of like taking yourself out of the experience. You're not immersing yourself and really taking the time to experience what each unique opportunity has to give you. So be mindful of the things that are going on around you. Be mindful of the activities and be mindful of yourself. Be mindful of, if you're feeling dead, take a day and go to the spa, relax, chill out, because you may not get to experience every little nook and cranny of the island, but even we locals that have been living here haven't done that. So take it easy, enjoy yourself, enjoy your time in this beautiful place, and take care of yourself.
Well, guys, I appreciate you and taking the time in this conversation. I think it's super important. Spencer, how can people connect with you, find you?
Yeah, if people want to, just talk to me, follow me, see my photos, I'm pretty much Spencerly 808 on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Dayflash, Snapchat, whatever. It's Spencerly 808. I recently started a YouTube channel under the same name, Spencerly 808. So I have one vlog up there now. So if you want to check that out, I guess YouTube, you can get a lot more personal with the creator. So you get to see like more or less the stuff that goes on around all of our little adventures. I'm really into YouTube now. And then if you want to buy a print, you can check out my website. This time dropped the 808. So it's just spencerlyphotography.com. No 808 there. But everywhere else, it's Spencerly 808.
Professional.
Not as professional as Matty, but we're getting there.
Matty, what about you?
So it's Matt A. Leong at Instagram if you guys just want to follow me or just talk more about these types of things that we did on the podcast. And if you just have any questions, really, don't be afraid to reach out and connect. Don't be afraid to ask questions either. My website is mattyleong.com. You can find like the print section there. It just takes you to my Darkroom account. Darkroom is a third-party website. They're really good if other photographers are listening to this, to help me like process prints faster than if I just did it manually. So they're really good. I was donating my prints, actually like all of them recently, to organizations helping and supporting Black Lives Matter. Darkroom is actually waiving their fee for me so that everyone who buys through my Darkroom website right now, 100% will just be donated.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised that like a website would do that, or like a company.
Yeah, how long does that run for?
It's still going.
Okay.
Because I just want to donate the money that I raise from prints right now. Like I don't necessarily, need the money. I'm very blessed to work with like 1 or 2 clients right now that are providing enough for me. Uh-huh. So everything right now is just being donated. We have raised over $1,000. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That's great, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so you can find my print shop through my website, mattyleong.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, but I didn't post anything yet. Video is a different beast. But if you guys want to follow me on YouTube, it's just Matty Leong.
Great. Well, guys, I truly appreciate you guys. And thank you so much for this time and this conversation. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you for having us.
You got it.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank Matty and Spencer again for their time today. I had a blast. I hope that you found value in it. We're going to link everything in the show notes. So you can just go to hawaiisbesttravel.com/episode 34. And you can find all the things that we mentioned today, specifically going to lnt.org. That's leave no trace behind. That's what Spencer mentioned about the 7 principles about leaving no trace. So go to lnt.org to find that information. But the easiest way to get all the information and not remember it all, just go to hawaiisbesttravel.com/episode 34 and it'll be right there for you. My biggest key takeaway in today's episode was simply this: being present. No matter where you're at, if you're at home or if you are just going on a simple hike, is just being present. Yeah, it could be cool to, get the shot, but the most important thing is creating memories. When you go to Hawaii and you go to rejuvenate, make memories, it's really about the experience, and it's about being present and in the moment. And if you can capture it in the moment, then that's like cherry on top. But if you miss the perfect sunset or you miss the perfect sunrise or whatever, it's more about being present. But what I love about these guys is, even though they're amazing photographers in Hawaii, even they say, like, sometimes you just have to leave the camera behind and just go experience the hike, go experience just the swim or whatever you're doing, just experience it. And that's what Hawaii is all about. And I can't wait for all of us to get to travel again. So to stay up to date on when that's happening and to follow Spencer's, follow Matty, go to hawaiisbesttravel.com/episode 34, and it'll be all there. Well, I just want to say thank you again for joining us today on this episode. And until next time, be well. Aloha.
Thanks for listening to Hawaii's Best Travel Podcast. To stay up to date on future episodes, be sure to subscribe. For more information to help you plan your next trip to Hawaii, visit hawaiisbesttravel.com.